You know what I hate? I hate whenever I get on code after a long day of school. I decide to go on this app. I decide that I'm going to enjoy my time on this app. And guess what happens? I'm speaking to the average Discordian. And you know what they tell me? Whenever I give an opinion, oh, you can think that. You can think that, Shinra. Of course I can. Of course I can. Why do you think I told you in the first place? It's because I did think that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over a few phrases that people say on Discord that frankly just make me mad because it makes no sense. There's no good reason why people say this. So number one is you can think that. Now, you know who popularized this phrase? It was Infinity. Every single time someone gives an opinion now, it's always, oh yeah, you can think that, instead of actually giving a response. It's like, for example, I make a tier list, and I'm like, this guy is worse than this other guy. And instead of asking why, it's, you can think that. What do you mean you can think that? If you're going to try and engage in a conversation with me, then of course, like, I have these opinions. How dare you continue to try and ask me this, even though you know that I do think it. Of course I think that. The second one is whenever I put someone at the top, or I put someone on my tier list, and they're like, "Where's Akeno? Where's Akeno? Akeno's the best debater. Where's Akeno? Akeno's the best. Why do you have him so low? He isn't good. He sucks. He stinks. He's poo-poo. There's nothing exceptional about his debate style. Rhetoric? None. Argumentation? None. What does he have aside from knowledge? How can anyone? I challenge you. I will pay you £15 if someone in the comments can drop me 3 Akeno debates that get him into tier 1. You can't. You can't. What he's done is he's created a circle in which now only his quote-unquote close friends get to hear him debate. And it's like, but why? Aside from that phrase, it's this one. This one is worse than the other two. Via my epistemics. What does that one? Most of the time whenever people say this, they don't know what epistemics means. They don't even, okay, one, epistemics is even a word. 2, it's epistemology. That's the study of knowledge. And 3, every single time they use it wrong. So whenever I hear this, my first impression is, okay, so this guy sucks. 2, he's heard one Infinity debate and he thinks he's the greatest of all time. Or 3, he's just read one book and then he started using every single word wrong. So why are you using the word epistemics in an Naruto debate? Who knows? It doesn't make any sense. People are trying to be pseudo-intellectuals. The fourth one is X is a high tier. X is a high tier. The phrase high tier just rubs me the wrong way, man. I don't know what it is. Every single time I see someone call another human being a high tier, it's like, 1, that's knees. Get off your knees. And 2, it's like, why do you use the phrase high tier? Why can't you just say this guy's competent? It doesn't make sense. Just say he's competent. Stop doing too much. Now, since I need to get enough views to pay the bills and all, I'm going to go over something else. These are a few debaters that I think, or I used to think I should say, were good, but they aren't. And I've realized that now. This is in no particular order. Number 1 is Aeroflame. Because I don't know if this is an old gen thing. Maybe it's they have such a lack of argumentation. They were all rhetoric centric, which is respectable in its own right. But why is it that if, for example, Bubbles is saying a different level can be a lower level or a different lower level, why is it that it takes you 1 hour and 30 minutes to defeat the argument? Can you explain that to me? Because all it needs to defeat the argument is simply just the ability to read. Now, are you telling me that the average quote-unquote old gen good debater couldn't read? Because I don't buy that. Clearly they could read. So clearly there's an issue in argumentation here. Why are you struggling so hard against that level of skill? If you just know how to read, you can tell that is the intention of how they're using it. And instead of actually going into why it's just grammatically incorrect to say a different, or like, no, well, not grammatically incorrect, but it's contextually incorrect to say that, okay, whatever this instruction means, to say that was quote unquote, I died. That different level could be a lower one. It's just contextually incorrect. No, I don't think you can name me a single time within any manga that a different level has been used that way. But like, I don't understand how people lose to that. I know Valor tried doing something along those lines, explaining why it's contextually incorrect whenever he debated Bubbles. But why does it take so long? The average debater right now would never struggle against those type of terrible, lackluster arguments. It's actually kind of embarrassing to think that these people actually quote unquote ruled the community. So Error on his own, bad. Six himself has like said to Error's face that Error just lacks argumentation. So even though I agree, like, oh yeah, top one rhetorician, top one rhetoric in the old gen community, he still lacks argumentatively, and it shows whenever he debates people. He has a very terrible, very bad time at dealing with skepticism, which most of the old gen people did too. So aside from Jester, it's all like, of course Akeno's on here. Like, in he's basically the current era, the way people old gens who are still active right now treat Aeroflame is the way people who are active right now who are fairly new treat Akeno. They'll say he's really good, say he's the best of bear, say he's the best thing since sliced bread. Then whenever you ask them, well, can you name me 3 Akeno debates, they get offended. It's like, no, no, sorry, Queen, I'm not trying to invalidate your goat's feet. No, that's not what I'm doing. All I'm doing is asking you a very simple question, which should realistically have a very simple answer, which is, can you show me any Akeno debate? If you can't show me any Akeno debate, then why do you continue to tell me, oh, Akeno should be higher? How am I supposed to know that if you just won't let me see his debate? Like, why do people choose to have private debates in the first place? Like, someone's going to leak it eventually. So it doesn't really make sense to have private debates and all. And not only that, private there's no, like, literally no point. Like, do you get stage fright? Is that it? Like, how do you get stage fright whenever you see or whenever you debate in front of a crowd? Because to debate is just to try and convince the audience, and in some cases, the audience has been giving this special title of being a judge. So, but all in all, a debate is like competition of who can convince the audience better via their argumentation, and in some instances, their rhetoric. But still, I always seem to wonder, why do you choose specifically to have privated debates? It just shows that most people don't actually have confidence in their ability to actually convince a judge, which is, or no, well, not convince a judge, but I think most of the time they're like scared that people would think they lost. That's why debating judgment was so prominent. I'd say nobody really does anymore, but debating judgment was really prominent because, one, it's like, I can have an opinion, have a very, very strong defense for it, and just not want to argue with you. So people have this like weird misconception that, oh, if you don't defend your judgment in a debate, a formal debate, then you must have no form of justification. And it's like, no, that is it. It's, I don't want to speak to you. So in the same way how, if I, for example, if I say Infinity lost a debate to Fox, or whether or not logic is objective, which he did, like, I don't have to debate him or argue with him on whether or not he did or not, because at the end of the day, one, it's my opinion, and two, well, no, not it being my opinion really is a good defense, but two, it's like, nobody really has time to argue over who, or like, it's not really something that interests the average person. Oh my god, can I beat you in a debate on if you beat this other person in a debate? Like, no. Most people would rather see, instead of that, the two people who are being argued over just debate again. Wouldn't that just be a more optimal solution? But hey, I mean, I don't know. Then there's, again, the guy that fully realized, have this conception that, oh my goodness, He's the best debater to ever lay a foot in this community. They have him in tier 1. Whew. I need you to deep that. They have him above Seth. They think he's like the best things is like sliced bread. They think he's better than Fox, his Jester. Now if you notice, Jester kinda he argumentatively lacks. He's good at shotgunning, I'll say that. Like, whenever he debates people, he has this like weird tendency to be like, no, 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 you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And then he explains why you're wrong. Like, first he cuts you off. But then if you do it to him, it's like, oh no, you're spugging out. Let's get moderation. But he has this tendency to cut you off a lot. And when you don't let him cut you off, for example, what I do whenever I'm talking to Jester and he keeps cutting me off is I just like turn down my phone's volume and I keep speaking. Then he gets like really angry because it's like, oh my goodness, how dare you not let me cut you off? Oh my goodness, you're going to ramble. But when he's speaking and he speaks for like extended lengths, then it's fine because of my high tier argumentation. And you actually see this in real time because Jester debated, for example, Azazel for 5 hours. So to say that Jester is quote unquote, how should I explain this? Not a rambler when he's debating these guys for 6 hours on end seems to be just inconceivable. It seems to be outrageous. Why would you ever say that? So there's that as well. Who else is there? Who else is on my list? There's Odin. Now, I don't dislike Odin. Good guy. Yeah. I like Odin. I mess with Odin. He says nice. But he isn't good. When I came into this community, I used to be like relative to Tano, and there was like this server called Academy. Well, not relative to Tano. I was always like considered to be better than them, but people would still say, "Oh, Shinra, Tanwin, and all of them boys are around the same like pay grade," and it's like whenever I was debating him, I'd win, but it'd be like it wouldn't be. I wouldn't say I just blitzed the guy back then. I would now, but still. And Odin just walks in and blitzes Tomlin. So it's like, I had this extreme perception of him that, oh my goodness. So this is how good the community is. That, oh wow, I was a big fish in a small pond, guys. And then, as time went on, and as I learned how to debate and like immediately I was no longer like 12 years old. He couldn't beat me anymore. And I think the reason being is because not only does Odin lack in terms of argumentation, he has this little script that he uses. So in the same way, how, for example, Eric, IRL debater, debates philosophy. His name is script user, but Odin is literally a script user. There's this one argument he uses, if like, I think he just doesn't understand how probability works, and it's weird to not understand how probability works if most of the arguments that he makes are like entirely centric on probability and making a more likely interpretation. But if he's trying to make a more likely interpretation, wouldn't it make sense to like know how like probability works in the first place? But he seems to not know how to. So hopefully after his like master talker has taught him some more, then he'll actually like understand. But he's very big. I know he like beat Gias too, but he's just lacks argumentatively. And it kind of shows whenever he like debated, like for example, why can't I move? Okay. But it shows like very extremely whenever he debates like Infinity, because all Infinity did is like be a skeptic. And it's like, well, I don't really remember, but all he did is like be a skeptic from what I remember. And Odin, his entire debate style is focused on like countering that and like being able to defeat those type of skeptic arguments. Yeah, he just wasn't really able to. One, because when Infinity like says the word data set, I think Odin like shivers. And I think the reason he shivers specifically is because then it goes into who actually understands probability. And if anyone actually understands how to form an induction any better than a sixth grader, then others like going to lose. Reason being because he doesn't actually like focus on learning or understanding. He just focuses on like repeating. So it's just a repetition of what he's heard. For example, Tarkus, whenever he mock debates. If you get what I mean. Um, the last person on the list, I'm pretty sure, he used to be an intellectual titan. He used to be. He used to be a wall. He used to be a wall that I could never get past. It was Noodles. When I first came into this community, there's a recording of Tunwin. He prepped for a week. And Tunwin absolutely just got one tapped by Noodles. It was bad. Tunwin got like absolutely just blitzed out the way. And I was shocked. I fell on my back. I was like, how could this be? How could this happen? And I realized, whoa, Noodles must be good. And then I really deeped it for a second. I was like, wait a second. As I grew, I was like, no. I was all wrong the entire time. Noodles isn't good. I just sucked. And when you come to those type of realizations about people who you thought were good, it kind of like changes your perspective, you know? Because it's like, oh wow, so he wasn't actually good. Never mind, I was tweaking. He wasn't actually good. I was just terrible. And once you realize that, then you're able to like evolve. Well, not really evolve. That's kind of a corny way to put it. But you're able to become less bad. So, for example, I've seen Noodles not understand what induction is. And then he thinks that, oh, well, induction is bad because you could use it to justify, like, racism or whatever he says. I don't know, like, he has this weird argument. He thinks only deductive arguments work. But then if you ask Noodles, for example, how do you form a deductive argument? If you ask Noodles that, no way. But if you ask Noodles that, he won't actually be able to give you an answer. And the specific reason why he won't be able to give you an answer is because he doesn't actually know. So in the past debate community, you didn't actually need to know any of that to be considered good. Especially like, for example, you could use the term okay, my wheel disappeared on like my back, but you wouldn't be able to, like, when someone says preponderance of evidence, you're like, damn, that guy must know a lot, right? Like, most people used to think that. One Valor used to say, oh, there's a preponderance of evidence because I'm taking your interpretation, I'm taking my interpretation, and I'm forming a more likely interpretation by combining the two of them. So combining the two of them would be more probable than one or the other. No, that's a conjunction fallacy. I don't know how that guy managed to get away with that for an entire 2 years. Valor was on a generational run with a fallacious argument, and nobody actually knew or was able to call it out because nobody actually reads. Now, of course, there are going to be outliers like Trini, who's been debating philosophy longer than I've been alive. But, that hit me, this side. But still, most of the guys are like Trini, Seth, they're like beyond their time. But people like Noodles, it just isn't good, man. Like, I don't understand. Like, for example, if Seth came into this community, this current community, that thinks all of the old gens suck, thinks all of the old debaters were bad, and then he started debating, people think he's good. And the reason why people think he's good is because, one, he isn't a knowledge Andy, so he doesn't like invest all of his debater stat points in knowing a lot about Naruto. He actually is smart. No glaze. Okay, no, this sounded a bit too much, I guess. But there are people in this community, like, there are certain archetypes of debaters. So, for example, there's the guy who's, like, good at everything, but he's a master of none. A good example of this would be, like, Yanni. His friend, British, you know. He's, like, No shot. Okay, so he's like good at everything, in the sense that he can argue for most things, yet he isn't actually exceptional at anything, if you get what I mean. So he isn't actually like, he doesn't excel in anything. So what does Rin in like Blue Lock call people who are average? He calls them tepid. That's basically what Yanni is. And like, it isn't really a bad thing, because to be average at everything, or not average, or to be able to perform at a decently high level at a variety of topics makes you a good debater. But immediately you figure out someone who's one, A is like good at all of those topics, but he's also like better than you on all those topics. So being an all-rounder doesn't work if someone's just a better all-rounder than you. Or two, they're just a specialist, so in the sense that they're just exceptional at the one topic that they do, and then like you just can't compete. But Noodles, in that sense, he'd just be a specialist, and specializing in only fiction, like, isn't something you'd want to invest your stocks in, because nobody really, like, most fiction debates don't remain primarily fiction anymore. There's always going to be some meta debating within there. So if there's going to be some meta debating within there, then it makes no sense to only be focusing on knowledge, because then if you only focus on knowledge and someone just provides you with a skeptic defeater, for example, they like question every single character's knowledge, or they question, if they start ratting basically, and they start questioning, like, let's say Six is debating Nemesis, and then Nemesis brings up how he can't actually justify his perception being accurate. That's actually a debate people like have in philosophy, like, oh, whether or not you should trust your five senses or not. If Six, generally, from what I've seen at least, who knows, he may be a philosophical beast that I've just never understood. He generally won't be able to answer questions like those. Most of the time, he'll just brush it off as, oh, you're ratting, I'm not going to engage. But unironically, he doesn't actually know how to respond to that. Now, that isn't really... Ooh! Oh my goodness! Oh my lord! Whoever is in that car is dead. But, like, generally most people in that community don't actually have any form of response to arguments like these. And the reason why they don't have any form of response to arguments like these specifically is they are more used to, and they are more focused on actually getting responses on like the level playing field, if you understand. They are used to getting responses on stuff they know about. So Naruto, if you ask why this, why that, usually what the, ooh, wait, no, I can still drive, come on now, come on, wait, chill. This is a pause on the video because I need to win. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah. But generally, most of the time, like, they are used to getting responses on a level playing field rather than this person is being extremely skeptic on something they don't understand. So if like, that's why most people consider audience out. No, it's even because of that. For example, I saw Spencer say something absolutely idiotic. It's like, people or definitions in the dictionary, they can't actually be used in terms of day-to-day speech, because everyone is using colloquial definitions. So what's the point of a dictionary then? Under that view, what's the point of a dictionary? Is a dictionary just only going to be like, for example, whenever people check dictionaries to understand what people mean, all of them just are confused. Because if they aren't confused, then clearly dictionaries do actually convey some form of meaning. It's not like every single time somebody speaks, they're using a proprietary usage of the word. So generally, if you try and say that, oh yeah, no, we have to take it by how most people use it. Okay? Then what do you think the dictionary is basing the definition off of? Because it's not like the dictionary is like making up stuff and then saying this is how you have to use it. No, that isn't how it's done. But generally, that's all I have to really say. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe. And that's it from me.